Okay, let's talk about part 2, which is about hiring and beginning a private tutoring company. My first piece of advice here is to stick to your values. And I know that might sound really fluffy, but I found that in order to differentiate myself from other tutoring companies, I needed to stick with what I believed in, because one really tricky thing about private tutoring companies is that everyone advertises the same. Let's be honest, it's all about, we care about you more. We have the best tutors with the top credentials, but then you have every single private tutoring company saying the same thing. So it's very hard for a student, a parent, whoever it is out there who's looking to hire you to actually gauge, who should I go with? And so I found that my point of difference was that I was very selective with the tutors that I took up on board. Yes, I did go from 5 to 50 tutors within a year, but then I quickly realized that that wasn't what I wanted. And I do talk about this in one of my previous videos, which I'll link up above for you. But I eventually winded back and held firm with my beliefs that being selective with the tutors I took on board was going to be more impactful for my business and just what I wanted at the end of the day. The second thing, and I know that a lot of people have this sort of doubt, is, who's going to be willing to work for me? I personally had this thought because I was very, entrepreneurial from the get-go. I was very much about working for myself. So I thought that who would therefore want to work with me if they would also have the same mindset? But I realized over time that people don't share the same mindset as you. I have plenty of tutors who come to work with me because, one, they love the fact that we do all the administrative work for them, we do all the marketing, we find them the students, and it's pretty much, the student handed to them on a silver platter. It's just kind of like, here you go, now do your best work. The second thing is that some tutors don't like, dealing with the parental side of things. If there are things that go wrong, or if we need to manage the money, for example, if you're working by yourself, you sort of need to chase up on the money, and there are plenty of issues that can kind of happen there. But we do all of that for these tutors, and we do plenty more for them as well, including giving them resources, creating a tutoring culture, and creating a tutors community that they can be a part of. So yeah, just know that you can create something that's going to be of value to other tutors as well. The third thing is starting to set up systems and automating as much as you can, or delegating it. So when I hired Simone to be our tutor and customer happiness manager, I cannot tell you how amazing that was for me to then start focusing more so on the business itself rather than the actual running of it. So she took over basically all of the admin work, all of the communications with tutors and students, and that freed me up to really improve on the business. And I'm really grateful that, we're at the stage where we are now. So for you, you might not be hiring out somebody straight away, but it doesn't mean that you can't start implementing software and automation processes to make life easier for yourself. I think that's one thing that I wish I'd told myself sooner, and that's not to be afraid to spend money on subscriptions. They really change the way that you work. They help you be more productive, and they save you so much time so that you can focus on what matters. Okay, let's move into the questions. I've got them on my phone. I'll read a little bit of them for you now. So Addict has sent through a question for me. I have to read this really closely because my screenshot is really small, but I'll make sure to put it on screen for you. So what can I do to encourage tutors to say, and how is your hiring process so tutors are less likely to take students with them? So there's so much to say here, but I'll condense it down to sort of the main points that matters. How I encourage tutors to stay is by building up systems that support them. So for example, we have LSG curated resources. If you look on our website, we have at least 20 study guides now that are designed for VCE, which is what we teach. And behind that, we have an entire database just full of resources, notes, essays, other commercial study guides, all compiled into the one place so that tutors can basically access a library. And we didn't always have this massive library, and we didn't always have LSG curated resources. In fact, it's only within really the past year or so that we've started doing this. So, you know, some things just take time, but from day one, I have been building up that library for them. And it's at that place now where it's huge and it covers hundreds of different texts for tutors. We also do tutor catch-ups. So what happens there is that Simone jumps on a call with them every 6 months just to check in and see how they're doing. We also make sure to pay them for this time so that they understand that their time is valued. And it's also a way for us to ensure that it's a 100% attendance rate, because if we're going to invest in these tutors, we're going to do it well, and we're going to make sure that they're happy, and if they've got any issues that they are mentioning to us and that we can help them solve it. We do other things around the board as well, such as tutor events. We have a tutor mentor who's just come on board to basically be there to offer advice if tutors ever need it. And so we've got a few things going on, but that's not to say that you need to have all of these to begin with. You know, these are things that we've only implemented over time, and some things really do just take time. So please don't feel overwhelmed or feel like you need to have all of these things set up to begin with, because trust me, it's taken time. The final thing I want to say here is that tutors will take students with them if they really wanted to. There's no way for you to prevent that. So what you are trying to do is to build that community around your business, build the systems and build the processes to support these tutors. And the other thing is that if they did start taking students with them, and let's say if you didn't know, it will reflect poorly on them anyway, because you'll start to think, hang on, this tutor can't retain any of their students. Why am I giving them any more students, sorry. So yeah, that's just something to think about. It definitely goes both ways. Flora has asked me, I really love your teaching style over at Lisa's study guides, and I know though you seem to execute everything so easily and naturally, there needed to be a lot of planning behind it. So I'll answer this question in more detail in the future, but I guess I just wanted to say here that with the so easily and so naturally, firstly, thank you, that's so kind of you. But secondly, I think for me, I again stuck with what I believed was the best way of teaching. I knew that from my own experience that straightforward, clear and simple teaching was what was always most beneficial for me. So I wanted to do the same thing for my students. So have a think about what worked for you. Growing up when you were in school, think about the teachers that you had, or maybe even the tutors that you had, and then think about how you could do the same thing for your own students. I think that's how you'll be able to ensure that you come across quite naturally. And it is easy because it comes from within, you know, you're not trying to be anybody else. The last question here is from Leanne. She has asked quite a few questions, so again, I don't think I'll answer all of them. Maybe I will in a future video. But maybe what I'll answer here is, what is your vision for your online business and the sentiment around that? So I'd say that for me, vision has always been a really big struggle. When I first started my private tutoring by myself full-time when I was 23, I was literally only just thinking for that year. I was thinking, yep, I'm moving out of pharmacy. I'm doing this full time. This is awesome. This is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. But you know, things change. And at the end of that year, I had so many students coming in requesting help. I felt really bad saying no to them. And so that's when I hired my first tutor. And then the story sort of goes from there. But even when I hired my first tutor, I had no idea that Lisa's Study Guides would turn into what it is today, with the fact that we have private tutoring, we have study guides, we have an app that we're working on, and I'm looking to expand interstate and eventually globally. These are things that don't necessarily, I know for me at least, you don't have them from the very get-go. So I wanted to put it out there that if you have points that you're unsure about and you can only see so much into the future, that is okay. You learn as you go, and that's the beauty of life. That's all the questions I'm going to answer today. If you have any more questions, I'd love to answer them for you. Make sure you leave them in the comment section below. I'm really interested in doing more videos like this, and eventually my camera cut out, but leave your questions in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!